Learning About My Brain by me, Samantha M., Megan H., Olivia S., and Erin D. I also drew all of the illustrations myself. Hello, my name is Anna. This is my little brother Mikey. We are siblings. Anna is 7 years old. Can you say the word 7? Now we can show Anna's age by putting up our fingers. Can you put up 7 fingers? Mikey is 5 years old. Can you say the word 5? Now we can show Mikey's age by putting up our fingers, just like we did for Anna. Can you put up 5 fingers? Did you know that your hand and your brain just work together? Children all over the world have brains that work with their bodies, just like you. You're probably wondering what a brain is and why it matters. Let's learn the brain together. The brain is located inside your skull, and your skull is inside your head. The skull is the strong barrier to protect your brain. The brain is divided into 4 basic sections plus the core, the stem. The 4 parts are the front, middle, back, and the side. The stem of the brain is like a stem to a flower. The stem holds the brain. The stem controls very important functions like your breathing and heartbeat. Now we can learn about the 4 important lobes. The frontal lobe is at the front of the head. This controls a person's planning and judgments. The parietal lobe is located right in the middle of your head. And it has this part of the brain controls your 5 senses known as smell, touch, taste, hear, and see. The occipital lobe controls your eyes. It is found near the back of your head. The temporal lobe is known as the temples of your head. These are on the sides of your head above your ears, and this controls your hearing and understanding of auditory information. This is the hippocampus. Wait a second, did someone just say hippo? Oh my gosh, there's a hippo outside the candy shop! Looks like Mikey didn't find his candy today. Instead, he found a hippo. Hello, I'm Hallie the hippo. I'm going to teach you about the hippocampus. The hippocampus helps you remember information. You can remember that Hallie the hippo taught you the hippocampus. The last part of the brain we're going to learn is the amygdala. My best friend Amy is going to teach you. Hey Amy, come over here and teach us about the amygdala. She's the amygdala expert. The amygdala controls our emotional responses, which is very important. Great job! You successfully learned about the brain. Thanks for learning about the brain with us. Don't forget to teach all of your friends.
We decided to create a book to teach children about their brains, and with preschoolers becoming more engaged with technology in recent years, ebooks have been found to help children stay engaged with learning. We incorporated bright colors, bold words, and highlighted important vocabulary to keep the children focused. While reading print books is considered foundational for young children, they learn just as well from an ebook. Bright and colorful illustrations are used so children can make connections to their own body, their peers, and things that they do every day that is controlled by their brain. We dumbed down the big words used to explain the brain to make it more compatible for young children. Recent research has showed, though, that exposing children to ebooks has drastically raised testing scores as compared to print books. Children need visuals, repetition, discussions, and a narrator to help them comprehend what they're learning.
When thinking about how to create our storybook, I thought that it would be important to incorporate the use of STEM in our book. An article by CDW, STEM Learning in Early Childhood Education, a literature review, discusses the importance of STEM in a child's learning. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. These provide important, critical, and creative thinking skills for children to develop through their education and to take into the real world. In our book, we included science of the brain and artistic visuals to help the child be entertained. Artistic visuals can help involve children in the book that they are reading so they do not become distracted. Research behind picture books being able to help children use their imagination and develop emotional responses to characters as well as situations within the text. Images stimulate their minds in ways such as cognitive and physical development to help them learn. Images such as these are displayed in the text in our ebook. An article by Franziska Eager discusses Can ebooks foster child language? Meta-analysis on the effectiveness of ebook intervention in early childhood education and care. Research shows that children can learn from ebooks just as well, or maybe even better, than traditional storybooks that are paperbacks. Storybooks overall can improve vocabulary skills through the use of repetition to help children learn. Visuals, such as pictures, and even auditory books, like best for children, just like the one that we created for this project. Research shows that ebooks are useful for children's learning, and it's important because research shows that students that use digital books can score even higher on a comprehension and vocabulary scores on exams than printed traditional books like paperbacks.
On top of including STEM in our book, we also wanted to include information about the neuroscience and psychology of development in children. While these sources were much more complicated than won't be included in our book, since it was written for 4 to 6-year-olds, they were crucial to the writing and development of our team knowing what we were doing. An important topic I wanted to research was the importance of the parietal lobe in children and how it related to education. I found a study by Katrine Wegman named Educating the Brain, the growing knowledge about how our brain works can inform educational programs and approaches. This study addressed neuromyths such as the VARK learning styles by Neil Fleming, which we talked about in class. This article called out such things for being false and eventually leading to the neglect of other aspects of learning in children. It instead suggested practices to include the learning of children's mental number line. This directly relates to spatial awareness and the 5 senses controlled by the parietal lobe, and how it is important for children to form a spatial concept of something in their heads, like the number line, and specifically where larger or smaller numbers fall. To wrap this into our book, we included the acquisition of numbers at the beginning, and then information and examples about the parietal lobe. Next, I wanted to observe how electrical impulses affect judgment in the frontal lobe. In a study by Tobias Benakuski and Daniel Brandeis called What Electrical Brain Activity Tells Us About Brain Function That Other Techniques Cannot, they observed different areas of electrical activity in the brain and what kind of impulses it controlled. I thought this was particularly interesting in this study because the researchers were able to tell who was at higher risk of alcohol dependence in the future by what kind of activity they saw in the frontal lobe. Again, although much simpler, we obviously wanted to include how the frontal lobe controls judgment in our book. Another article by Ajula Abiola and Harikrat Dinsa called Improving Classroom Practices Using Knowledge of How Our Brain Works outlines what specific classroom methods are effective at getting children to learn and how motor-related cognition helps children to learn the best and promote neuroplasticity. This was reflected by us asking our readers to pause and hold up fingers to allow them to connect motor movements with cognition.
The first article that I chose covers the effect of a healthy and balanced diet on the development of the human brain and how it can help with performance and health in the body overall. We are discussing the parts of the human brain and explaining it to children, and a child, that is their prime time of development, is when they're a child. So it's important to make sure that children are getting all of the essential nutrients that they need in order to grow and fully develop during this time. If a child isn't eating a healthy diet and isn't getting all of the nutrients that they need, then it can impair their development and definitely cause problems, not only in their brain, but also just in their whole body as a whole, since the brain is such an important part of the body and controls everything. The next article that I chose discusses how racism, poverty, and inequities can negatively affect a child's development. Basically, the environment that a child is raised in plays such a huge role in how they are as adults, as well as how they currently are as children. If a child lives in an environment that has negative aspects to it, for example, if they have poor relationships with their parents, or if their parents have poor relationships with each other, if they experience any sort of financial difficulties, if they live in an area where there are high crime rates, if they experience conflicts with peers at school, things like that can all affect brain development as well as lead to mental health issues. And if those things are not treated, like if children are not receiving the support and care that they need, if they are struggling, then that can carry on into adulthood and cause even bigger issues. So I felt that this was just a very important thing to discuss.